Welcome back to the Field Coach Experts podcast, where we talk about the wins, the lessons, and the aha moments that help franchise teams shift from putting out fires to driving long-term growth. Today, I'm joined with someone I've actually never met and don't know really at all. So I'm super excited to chat with Nick Patterson, who is the Senior Guide Dog and Cultural Co-Founder at Hounds Town, USA. Nick has recently stepped into the Accelerator program to level up the way Hounds Town supports its franchisees, and he's here to share how evolving their coaching has directly impacted franchisee satisfaction and why that matters for retention. So, Nick, thank you so much for joining us. And I just want to say I love your title of Senior Guide Dog. Can you share the story behind that?
Yeah. So I'm not really a fan of the whole FBC title, and especially after going through the Accelerator course, the franchise business consultant versus the coaching role, which I'll dive into in a little bit. But we like to have fun at Houndstown, so a kind of dog-focused theme obviously made sense. And in my role, I'm really that ramp FBC, so I'm helping locations that first year business learning how to run their Houndstown location. So it just kind of made sense to have that guide dog title with it.
Nice. I love it. And I just want to clarify because something in as I was saying my intro, I made it sound like you just started the accelerator, but have you graduated
I
already
have.
the
Yep,
accelerator? Yeah. So you are a level 3 certified field coach with
I am.
ACA.
Yes.
Well, congratulations on that. Did you get your fancy diploma
Did,
already?
yeah. Got the diploma and everything, and then updated the LinkedIn profile. So yeah.
Amazing. Good stuff. Well, congrats on that. Um, and so before you joined the accelerator, just tell our listeners what your coaching, not just you, but Houndstown as a whole, what was the coaching approach that you had with your franchisees, and how did that kind of work with franchisees? How did they respond to that at the time?
Yeah, so I think we did a great job of just kind of building the relationship with the franchisee, but it was more consulting, where I felt like we were more reactive versus proactive. Since the course, it's definitely made a big shift, just even in my own confidence, but being able to really just lean in on the coaching aspect, asking questions, empowering the franchisees to help make those decisions, and then being that partner to support them along the way.
Okay. And so do you think that they have seen a shift
Yeah,
in that?
I do, both internally and with our franchisees. Was on a call with Rob this week, and it was just really nice feedback to hear from Rob about just the confidence he sees in me with the team. But then even just how I show up on the calls with the franchisees on our one-to-one calls. It kind of goes back to that FBC role, but that consulting, you're just coming on and you're just kind of giving them the answers, really shifting into understanding the why and just, yeah, asking those questions to empower them to make those decisions.
Amazing. And so that was obviously something that when you went through the accelerator, you learned. I know we've talked, and that was actually a theme of this podcast, was the consulting versus coaching, because a
Mhm.
lot of people don't understand the difference between the two. But let's talk about the accelerator itself. I would love for you to just tell our listeners about the experience, what it was like, and really how you responded to it as a
Yeah,
participant.
I love the program. It was an amazing experience. You're in a group with a cohort of other FBCs, so they're dealing with the same kind of struggles day to day. But you get to kind of learn about how their brands handle those situations as well, and it's great, like just brainstorming activity. But then just with the course, being able to have the tools. So again, with Houndstown, we were great with building the relationships and being that consultant, but now having those tools to really like build that plan with the franchisee and partner with them. I think that's been the biggest like implementation like difference for us.
Okay, and so tell us more about that. What did you implement? We know we've got the strategic growth coaching toolbox,
Love those, yeah.
and yeah, tell us how you brought that into Hounds Town. And one thing that I love about it is how flexible it is. It's one of those things that was created with that intention. We know with franchising and coaching franchisees, nobody's the same. Nobody needs the same approach.
Yeah.
We have to customize. So and brands are different too. So really, it's about we give you that framework, then you take it into your system, and either with us we can come and help, or you can do it on your own. You can really tweak it to fit your needs. So tell us how you did that with Hounds Town.
Yeah, I love the toolbox. It's exactly what I needed. Because when you think about like franchisees on their day to day, I mean, they're the CFO, the CEO, CMO. I mean, they have a lot on their plate. They also have a lot of ideas on how they want to grow their business. And especially in that first year, it's getting them back to that day that they signed their agreement when they've got that fire lit under them and they're like, I want to tell everybody about what I do. But having that toolbox just to build that structure out has been just a game changer for us. And you mentioned like flexibility. I think it could work with any brand. I was able to take that back, really like tailor it to our needs, add some Hounds Town branding to it, bring in some of our KPI dashboards as well. But then even just with the flexibility, we've got franchisees at different levels in their journey. So we can pick and choose kind of which tabs we want to use in that toolbox and kind of get them integrated into the toolbox, and then we can build out the rest of the plan from there.
Yeah, no, I love that. Some brands will come to us and say, we've got something really specific that we love that we don't want to get rid of. Our thoughts are great. Add it to the toolbox. That's what this is all about, is having those tools and use them with whom you need them, when you need them, so that it can be, is super flexible. So tell us how when you're working with franchisees and you're utilizing the toolbox, what do your franchisees think about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, you're going to have some franchisees that are on board, and then you're going to have some that aren't. And that's okay. It's, the ones that aren't on board, you can still pull from the toolbox, and maybe you're just not presenting the toolbox, but you're using those techniques on your calls, whether they're looking at it or not. But then the ones that are actively using the toolbox, I can think of a franchisee now who, she's a single owner business owner, right? And again, she's got everything on her plate, but we use this tool to guide on our calls each week on what decisions she's making. It's also allowed me to put some accountability on her. But these are all decisions and ideas that she's coming up with. I'm just there to support her and, cheer along the way too.
Yeah, awesome. So you're getting some good feedback, and people finding it maybe helping them figure out how to move forward, as opposed to just dealing with issues or problems that they have in that moment.
Exactly, because we're taking that approach, and we're really just building out that structured plan. So it's okay, what are those SMART goals? We're going to look at, high overview 1 year. Now let's look at the objectives and what are those action items. But just like we talk about in the course, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah.
So it's okay, we're taking those action items and we're putting them in. Where does it make sense to move the needle? So are we looking at Q1? This is what we want to complete. But they know each day coming in, this is what I'm focused on for this quarter. This is what's going to move the needle in my business.
Nice. And do you have, because I know Rob, who is, Rob's the founder and franchisor of Hounds Town, or am I wrong?
CEO.
The CEO. Okay. And so I know Rob's a favorite guest of AC Inc.'s on webinars and podcasts and our roundtables, and he's a real friend of the brand. And he has talked about some ROI, some actual numbers, because, if we've got any franchisors or CEOs listening right now, as we know, numbers are the thing we're looking for. Is what is my rate of return on investing in my coaches, going into the Accelerator and or working with AC to help us implement strategic growth coaching in our brand? What's that going to really do for us? Not just, franchisee satisfaction, and franchisee performance is really, really important. So do you have any numbers or anything that you want to share with our
Yeah.
audience?
Yeah, I mean, I would say honestly, I feel like the stories are where you feel it most, because it is when you've got that franchisee who, they have all different backgrounds. So, being able just to have those tools and really guide them, that's the success. So, a franchisee that maybe has never led a team before, using the SWOT analysis in the toolbox with them, but then we took it another step further. And we're like, why don't you do this SWOT analysis with your team as well during your next team meeting? Get that feedback from your team and let's compare it together. Those are the success stories because and I'm going to use Rob. Something I learned from him is, coming to these calls, it's that transparency that there's two of us on the call. One of us has our savings on the line and it's not me, but I'm here to partner with you. So when you can show up and just, be that partner and support for them, that's going to make all the difference. And again, just having that plan to guide them along the way, that's the success with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that word partner. I say it all of the time. Our coaches are, partners with their franchisees, accountability partners to help them reach their own goals. And just to help in general with their even with their issues and their problems. Like we said, this is a part of coaching, to ask those impactful questions to help them figure out what they can and want to do. So I love that you speak like a true coach for sure. It's in the satisfaction of our franchisees, right? That's really what, as coaches, what impacts us is seeing the difference and hearing their satisfaction and how they're being able to move forward. So
Yeah.
I love that. So just before we kind of wrap up, one of the things I would love to go back to is just to give some more insights, because you said at the top of the call that you really loved being a part of the Accelerator. So can you tell our audience, maybe somebody that's listening for the first time, what is the Accelerator?
Yeah.
Even the logistics of it. That would be great.
Yeah, so really it's a course where you meet twice a week. It's about an hour and a half. I can't remember the whole time length, how long it took, but it's twice a week for an hour and a half, and you're just on a call where we've got an instructor who's going through different parts of like just coaching and connecting. But you have that cohort really as well too to bounce ideas off of and share experiences from, and I think that was something I got a lot of value from.
Yeah. So you're learning, but then you're talking about it with your peers in your class. And so yeah, it's around 5 months ish, and it is an investment for time. Of course there's a financial cost to it, but I think for busy coaches, sometimes the time element might be the thing that might scare them away. If we had a listener that's thinking, oh, how could I dedicate an hour and a half twice a week for 5 months? What would you say to them to kind of mitigate that thinking?
It was totally worth it. It was a little adjustment the first week or so, and obviously, I mean, as FBCs, you're thinking about emails that are coming in and support those franchisees, but it's a nice, like, just hour and a half to unplug and really just focus and grow in your position.
Yeah. And what were the types of sessions that you did in the Accelerator?
Yeah, so we got to work through like some case studies, which was nice. So you gotta get that live scenarios, but then we would also just do it's a lot of discussion. So there were PowerPoints that were displayed, but then it's what does that mean to you? How can we shift that? And then I love the final project as well too, because it really focused on what we learned throughout the program, not just professionally, but also how we could adapt that into our personal lives as well too. I'm a young father. I've got a 7-year-old, but just being able to like coach him more too, instead of being like just a consultant to him, just asking him questions and understanding things better.
Yeah, awesome. That's amazing. So, Nick, if we've got a franchisor or a coach or somebody who's listening to this podcast and they want to strengthen their franchisee satisfaction through coaching,
Yeah.
what do you think there's one thing that they could do this week to really make a difference?
Yeah. I would say, put on the coaching hat, not the consultant hat. It's kind of like Ted Lasso says, be curious, not judgmental. And that
Nice.
curiosity, it's going to build like trust and get the franchisees to open more with you. So I would say just ask one more question each time before giving an answer. And I think you're really going to see that shift and change on just that relationship in general.
Right, because it's a relationship like that built on trust is just going to help you, get buy-in from that franchisee to, do what they need to do to grow their business and to work with you as a partner to figure things out. So that's amazing because yeah, as a former franchisee, um, what was most important to me, of course, I wanted to make money like we all we all do. We're in business to make money, but I wanted to really love what I was doing and feel satisfied. And I think if that can be our focus as coaches, as franchisors, because if we have happy franchisees, typically they're going to be making money because their satisfaction level wouldn't be as high as it would be, and then they're going to make great validators, which are then going to help us grow our system and really have a very very strong system. So thank you so much, Nick. I really am thankful that you came onto the podcast. And listeners may not have known this was Nick's very first podcast, so I appreciate that, and for you sharing how Hounds Town has evolved its coaching to better support its franchisees. And it's really inspiring to see how your intentional coaching not only is boosting satisfaction but building long-term relationships with your franchisees built on trust. And that's what all franchisors want, right? So for our listeners, just take one little nugget from today, put it into action with your own franchisees this week. And if you're curious about how the Accelerator works, please reach out. It is something that is very transformational. And will really help level up coaching. We run a mixed cohort of different coaches or anybody who supports franchisees. Lots of Nick. Were there other were there VPs or other people in your class that weren't just coaches?
Yeah, we had FBCs, we had Director of Operations. At Hounds Town, we've actually sent our dog management specialist through a couple of the courses because, again, anybody that's franchising facing, I think could benefit from the course. We even have our opener trainers taking a couple courses as well, too.
Amazing. It's absolutely, because there's a lot of strategies and techniques and communication, and how to have challenging conversations with franchisees and different things like that. So if you're interested, reach out. We run one a month. And so we've got a variety of different days and times that we run, so that whatever time zone you're in, you can find a cohort coming up that will work for you. So until next time, as usual, go be awesome.